Carlos. An inmate at the Michigan Department of Corrections, Muskegon Correctional Facility. If you feel you are being victimized or extorted by this prisoner, please contact GTO Customer Service at 855-466-2832. To accept this call, press 0. To refuse this call is from a correction facility and is subject to monitoring and recording. Thank you for using GTL. As promised, I'm here in the hopes of continuing on my mission to gain a following of hundreds, perhaps thousands, who believe that truth is but one, and there can be no place for reckless lies that destroy so many more lives than just the life you may have intended to destroy with your words. Another week has passed, and I'm still alive, still fighting, and still believing this will all soon end. And as I reveal my story to all of you, I will most assuredly take you on a journey that I often travel in my own mind. I'll share some of my philosophies, as well as personal experiences and memories that make me who I am. I do this so that you might know me. I believe a big part of your deciding to join in this battle will have to do with who you perceive me to be, how others see me, and how those who truly know me perceive me. With that, I will start with a preface for all of you to wrap your mind around, and perhaps bring you into tune with where my current nightmare begins. And I call this chapter a modern-day witch hunt. Hell has no fury like a woman scorned, a phraseology that has often proven to be true time and time again throughout the ages. Some might say this is a result of God himself making women subordinate to man because she was not strong enough to resist the serpent's temptations in the Garden of Eden. Now, man must suffer the wrath of that tragic event. And no matter what your beliefs on this issue might be, that phraseology continues to reign true today, and the consequences of that scorn are no less severe. In colonial times, it seemed that men were determined to reverse this curse of Eve and attributed the weakness of their own willpower to the woman's evil ability to tempt them into all sorts of immoral and murderous acts. They called these women witches, and while forgiving of men's failings and inabilities to resist the temptations of this witchly woman, she was marked, hunted, and burned at the stake. However, long gone are the days of that kind of female oppression. Men and women alike agree it is long overdue. However, make no mistakes, the witch hunt continues, and today that vile evil creature is man, and the wrath of that scorn of centuries of oppression and abuse has turned itself on him, in some cases for no other reason than hurt feelings, revelations of truth, or maybe today you decided to tell her, I just don't love you anymore. Yet rather than label you a witch or a warlock, that word in an alarming number of cases has been changed to rapist, molester, and abuser. Just as in the days of old, with the mere accusation of a woman being a witch, with no proof of any such activities, a word was all it took, and those who dared defend such a horrific claim were themselves deemed to be in league with the devil. No, there's no burning at the stake today. However, one accused of such a thing, even if proven innocent, often never overcomes public perception and ridicule, and burning at the stake may seem a much better alternative to a lifelong of suspicion, ridicule, sideways stares, inability to work, and a fear of attempting to establish any type of personal relationship. Make no doubt about it, sexual assault is a horrible crime, and made even more horrific when perpetrated against a child. However, what if that crime never happened? What if the knowledge of knowing that simply implying that someone had an appropriate interaction with a woman or a child could decide a person's life and destroy it? What if it was your husband, your wife, your evil stepmother, mother, or father? What if you as a parent were threatened with divorce or a custody suit? What if you were threatened to be exposed for who you really are, and not what the public at large presumed you to be? All of your lies and dirty laundry put out there on display. Would you stoop to such levels as to falsely accuse somebody of sexual assault? Most of you, I'm sure, would say absolutely not. Yet today across this country, thousands of men, and yes, even women, sit in prison cells falsely accused of sexual assault. And because of new laws passed in recent years, criminal sexual misconduct makes nothing more than an allegation to put a person in prison for the rest of his life. In Michigan, I am the one of hundreds incarcerated on a word. As I said when I last spoke to you, no medical evidence, no DNA, no physical evidence, no eyewitnesses, and no proof. Just a word. And the life as I know or hoped it would be is gone. And after already having served 17 years of my life for crimes that I had committed as a teenager, my real nightmare didn't begin until after my release and in late June of 2002, when
when I was reunited with my childhood sweetheart and the woman who had owned my heart since at least 1984. Jennifer. I whispered that name to myself millions of times over that 17 years in prison, and I knew the first time that I had any contact with her that she would always be part of my life, and I wasn't wrong. In that past 9 years of this madness, I whispered her name at least a million more times, and each time I do, that name and the sound of it in my mind makes me wish I'd never heard it before. And I'm reminded that hell hath no fury like a woman scorned. This is how it all began. In 1984, while incarcerated at a reform school in Whitmore Lake, Michigan, I was told of a girl who had recently moved into the neighborhood. My sister had become friends with her and told me, I really think you'd like this girl. You guys have a lot in common. I told her to send me a photo, and she did one better than that. In her next letter to me, there was a letter and a photo, and my sister was right. She was very pretty, and her letter truly made me smile. Her name was Jennifer. She told me she was 15 and that her birthday was on June 8th. I had just turned 17 in April, and it was now May. And I knew, after that first contact, that she would be a part of my life until I drew my last breath. And by June of that same year, less than a month after receiving that first letter, I had escaped from reform school, stole a car in a local town, and drove as fast as I could to Union Lake, Michigan to meet her. She didn't know I had planned to escape, but she told me about this big end of school year party that was going to take place at a local drive-in, and her birthday would be the next day, and I wanted to meet her just that badly. And how badass must that have made me look? I had escaped from reform school and stole a car just to be in her presence. Isn't love grand or blinding? Time would definitely clear up both of those questions for me, and at a cost I'd never anticipated. But there I was, drunk and urinating beside my buddy's car, and she walked around the back to see me in all my glory. Talk about first impressions. Mr. Marshmallow Man was on the big screen destroying New York City in the movie Ghostbusters, while I was urinating on my buddy's rear tire destroying any cool that I thought I'd established over the past month in letters. But she just smiled and turned her head. Once I finished, I remember hugging her and formally introducing myself. Nothing in my life has been the same since that June night, and nothing probably ever will be. Naturally, I was caught and returned to reform school, but over the next year and a half or so, I'd escaped 3 more times to be with her. It only got worse from there. Maybe it was the emptiness and being locked up against the greed that made her words and promises so convincing to me. Or maybe it was her smile that made me feel like I was the only guy on the planet. Maybe it was the sound of her voice, or the way that she smelled in my arms. I'll never truly know what it was about her that made me think the things that I thought, feel the things that I felt, or do the things that I did. And even after the countless breakups and stories of her unfaithful ways, all she ever had to do was tell me that, I love you. And I'd done anything for her. I said anything that she wanted me to do. I can't even tell you the number of relationships that I destroyed because of her. Relationships I wonder about today. What would my life have been like if only I had what? Now that's a good question. However, what if is now what is. And what is that I may very well die in prison, wishing that day back in 1984 had never happened. But like I said, that was just the beginning of an end that revives itself day after day in a place I had already survived in once. And I honestly don't know if I'll survive it again. But I fight, and I will continue to fight, because though through all the madness, the lies, the deception, the betrayal, and the broken hearts and dreams, I was gifted with a daughter, and one day she'll know the truth, and that's why I fight. I love you, Haley J. Garcia. Now let me take you back to the 80s, and the time where hope starts to fade.